Hello and welcome to the Spreadex Six, brought to you by WhoScored. I'm your host, George Ellick, and today I'm joined again by Jack Wright as we look ahead to a cracking Thursday night of Europa League and Europa Conference League action. Going to hear from Jack about his 6 bets in the Spreadex Six. Those are total goals, total corners, total bookings, player goal minutes, multi-market and match performance. So let's get straight into it. And first off, goals. It is Marseille against Feyenoord.
It is indeed, yeah. It was a tough call, to be honest with you, because I'm so looking forward to this Thursday. It's going to be a thrilling Thursday. I think all the games are so evenly balanced, but this one I just had to play. I watched the first leg and it was just bonkers from the first whistle, to be honest with you. Chances at both ends, early doors, ended up with 24 shots, 12 of those on target, 5 goals and 4 in the first half. So it was say crazy from the get-go. But 2-0 up, Feyenoord went, crowd was going wild, and 2-0 up inside 20 minutes. And then I think, Marseille were probably thinking we were in trouble here, and they were. But they clawed it back, 2-2 at half-time, so 4 goals in the first 45 minutes. I'd imagine Sampioli's gone in at half-time going, we've kind of got away with one there, probably not in that accent, but we've got away with one there, and let's kind of hold on, let's consolidate a little bit, let's not give anything away too quickly. And from their own kick-off, they conceded within 10 seconds. So that pretty much summed up the game. The only surprise for me really was that there wasn't any more goals after that. So it stuck at 5, but there was no end of chances. As I said, it was to and fro for the full 90 minutes. It's no real surprise. They're looking at the data from the European averages of goals for both sides. Bizarrely, Feyenoord started with a 0-0 draw in Kosovo. They had to qualify for the actual outright, and since that point in time, their games have averaged 3.94. Since qualifying, averaging 3.91. Marseille is a little bit lower at 3.14, but that does go up a little bit at home to 3.33. I think sometimes you see a game and it's a little bit, that's a bit of an outlier. It's not really going to follow that pattern again. With this one, it's not in like Dutch football's DNA to go there and try and park the bus. So I'm expecting exactly the same kind of profile and goals galore.
3 to sell, 3.2 to buy. You're buying at 3.2.
I am buying at 3.2.
And I'm just impressed that last Thursday, on a night where we had Manchester United versus Chelsea, Leipzig versus Rangers, West Ham versus Frankfurt, you were sitting there, Leicester versus Roma, you were sitting there watching Feyenoord against Marseille. Yeah, you must have had a few quid on it, I'm guessing.
I had a little investment in that one. There's normally a reason, isn't there? But it did leave out me having seeing like the data from it initially. I expected it to be goals, and I wasn't quite expected to be that crazy, but it was bonkers. And the stadium's amazing, and so it lived up to expectations.
It was
a good pick.
On Thursday night, exactly. You got it right. Corners next up. I'm looking at Rangers against RB Leipzig. Rangers holding Leipzig to just a 1-goal lead in the first leg, which they'd have taken, although a pretty late goal as well. A game where there were very few corners, and you think it might be the same again here, selling at 9.8.
I am. You're rightly saying that I think Van Bronckhorst took a little bit of a template from that. In the quarterfinals, they went to Braga and looked to keep it very, very tight. They limited Braga to 0.35 xG, and I think he's gone along the same lines, then going back to Ibrox to try and sort of finish the tie off. And as you rightly say, very, very nearly went one better than that and got a 0-0. Like, Rangers XG last week was only 0.34, so they didn't really offer much threat going forward. And I think that's just kind of highlighted by the corners, as you mentioned, were very, very low. Only 3 and only 1 for Leipzig, and coincidentally, that's where the goal come from. Corner into the box, headed out to Angelino, and a fantastic volley into the far corner to win the game. It was a 5-3-2 system from Van Bronckhorst, and I'm wondering if they're going to go down a similar route in the second leg, although obviously with home advantage. I just think that he might be a little bit wary, a little bit cautious of what Leipzig offer going forward, especially on the counter-attack, especially with someone we'll come on to in a little while later who can punish on the counter with his pace and goal scoring. So, as you said, we said 3 corners there. I looked into the data for the second leg against Braga at Ibrox, and there was only 8 corners in that one as well. And although Rangers are quite prolific in the corner front in the Scottish Premiership, they're obviously normally dominating. Yeah, this is right, and obviously it's a big occasion. And as much as the faithful, I think we wanted to push them on. I think he might have a little bit of caution to it. Averages as far as corners are concerned, in Europe for Rangers it's 9.12. Leipzig is only slightly higher at 9.64. Which is a combined average of 9.38. So we're kind of around that, but like I say, with the data from the last game, from the first legs, and also from the Braga second leg, I'm happy to sell at 9.8.
Selling at 9.8 there in Rangers against Leipzig in the corners. Next up in the Spreadex Six, it is total bookings. Here we have 10 points for a yellow card, 25 points for a red card, so total booking points. It is Frankfurt play against West Ham. West Ham go to Germany needing a result, having been beaten 2-1 despite Jared Bowen's late heroic efforts with a bicycle kick hitting the crossbar in injury time. And here, generally in second legs, the line will be higher because there's more at stake.
Yeah.
And here we've got 50 to sell,
yeah.
And that's where you're looking to go.
That's right, yeah, selling here. I was a little bit surprised about how strong West Ham went on Sunday against Arsenal. Ahead of the first leg, they played Chelsea and they rested Rice, they rested Lanzini, they rested Bowen. This time round, they all played against Arsenal, so kind of similar kind of game. Although Antonio and Souček were rested, an even shorter turnaround for Frankfurt, who played on Monday night, but they did make 8 changes. So only the goalkeeper and 2 outfield players actually remained from the first leg who featured against West Ham. I think both sides have kind of declared in their respective leagues and are putting all their eggs in the Europa League basket. Obviously, with the carrot at the end of it being Champions League qualifications, and who can blame them really? To be honest with you, tough game for West Ham. Frankfurt have only been beaten in 90 minutes in one game in Europe. In the Europa League in the last 11. That went to extra time and they ended up getting a draw in that one, so you could say they're undefeated in 11 if you want to be super strong on it. But they've been here before. Obviously the last 2 rounds, Sevilla beat them in Spain, and West Ham had to come back and get the win obviously at the London Stadium, and then a draw at London Stadium and the second leg in Lyon. Fantastic result with that 3-0 win. The thing that interested me, obviously, Barry, we'll talk about cards here and booking points here, is given they were kind of going to be the aggressor in both those games, having to kind of chase it, what were we looking at as far as the booking points were concerned? West Ham there's only 1 card in the game against Sevilla and only 2 in the game against Lyon. And what was interesting to note, there was only 13 fouls in the first leg against Frankfurt, which is extremely low flow number, and only 3 were from West Ham. The 10 from Frankfurt resulted in 2 yellow cards, but quite late in the day, 79th minute and 81st minute for those cards. So, obviously the recent history on that would suggest that it could be quite a calm affair. Obviously, as you rightly say, second leg should see it ramp up a little bit, but interesting to note that only 3 of 11 Eintracht Frankfurt European games have seen more than 50 points this season, and only 1 of 11 West Ham have gone over that number, which gives us decent confidence to think that we can sell it. And especially when you look at West Ham, as I say, as probably the aggressor in this game, have only picked up 42 yellow cards in the Premier League this season, which is the second lowest total. Only Man City have less.
And especially after Aaron Cresswell's unfortunate red card as well a couple of rounds ago, I'm sure David Moyes will be keen to make sure his team at least stay with 11 men on the pitch. So selling there at 50 in Frankfurt against West Ham. On to player goal minutes. These are the accumulated total goal minutes a player will score in a game. Makes up 0 if they don't score at all. And you're looking at one of the most exciting talents in European football at the moment, a Leipzig player where if you don't know much about him, it won't be long until you do. Absolutely right, and that's pretty much exactly what I was going to say to start up. So thank you very much. Yeah, you've done everything there. Absolutely great to watch, full of pace, very direct. It's Christopher Nkunku. It's Christopher Nkunku, exactly. Yeah. Oh, they knew that. They would have guessed it for that. But so, his season's been absolutely phenomenal. 45 direct goal involvements this season, 14 assists, which is a great number when you consider he's added 31 goals to that. In Europe, he's helped Leipzig score in every single game this season in European competition. And when you consider they were drawn originally in the group of death in the Champions League, so we're taking on Manchester City,
Paris Saint-Germain and Club Brugge, and obviously it turned out to be the group of death because we're talking about them now in the Europa League. They didn't even get much luck then because they then played Real Sociedad and then Atalanta in the last round. So some real proper top quality opposition, and they've managed to find the net in every single one of those. The interesting thing about Nkunku is that he's scored against all of those opponents, not necessarily in both games, but he's scored in at least one of them. And on the basis of this bet, he's got a very nice habit of being very good scoring away from home. So beware Rangers on that one, of course, and also scoring in the second half, where the added extra minutes are. Just to run through it, he obviously kind of burst onto the scene this season, I think, with the Manchester City game where he scored a hat-trick at the Etihad, despite losing 6-3. Two of those goals were in the second half, in the 51st and the 73rd minute. Drew a blank away in Paris, but then scored another brace in Belgium against Bruges, with the second goal coming in the 90th minute, which would be very nice in this one. Again, sorry Rangers fans. And then didn't score against Sociedad, but away at Atlanta scored another 2 goals, with the second one coming in the 87th minute. I am a little bit unhappy with him because on Monday night he did score in the first half against Borussia Mönchengladbach in the league, which ruined the stat, which is 7. He's scored 8 goals away from home in the Bundesliga this season. The last 7 have all been in the second half. So we'll ignore Monday night. He scored in the 57th against Dortmund, 69th against Fürth, the 82nd against Bochum, the 64th and 67th against Hertha Berlin, the 53rd against Bayern Munich, and the 70th against Stuttgart. So a phenomenal record of scoring in Europe, of scoring away in Europe, and of scoring late away in Europe. Buying at 27.
Buying total goal minutes for Nkunku there at 27 for Leipzig. At Ibrox, 2 more in the Spreadex Six. Next up, it's a multi-market where you times total values, game values by each other. So it can be goals and corners, can be corners and bookings, can be goals, corners and bookings. Back to your favourite game, Marseille Feyenoord for this one. Tell us which market you're choosing and if you're buying or selling.
Yeah, we're going to go goals by corners. We've obviously covered goals in depth already, so there's no need to go over those again. Good starting point, obviously, for this particular bet. And there's not much to talk about on the corner side of things, so it's a brief one on that. As much of that game was, it was fairly evenly split, possession-wise, shots-wise, everything was kind of fairly even. And that the same thing applied for corners. There was 11 corners in total, 6 for Feyenoord, 5 for Marseille. So something along those sort of lines again, with the amount of goals that we are expecting in this one, we'll see us get nicely to that point where we're obviously buying at 34.5. Averages sit well. Marseille's average in Europe this season is exactly 11 corners per total corners per match, and Feyenoord's is slightly lower at 10.06. So again, if we can get around that sort of 11 mark for this one with the goals as well, we should be well set for a nice return on the multi.
Cracker multi goals by corners there. Marseille against Feyenoord, 34.5 is the buy price, and that is what Jack is choosing here. Last up in the Spreadex Six is match performance. This is where each game value is attributed a value, and it's the cumulative value of all of those things happening over the course of the game. So 15 points per goal scored, 3 points per corner, 5 per yellow card, 15 for a red, 10 for a penalty being awarded, minus 25 for a 0-0 draw. Everyone so far on the Spreadex Six, Jack, has been buying in this market. And it's fair to say you've done the same again here, but not in Marseille Feyenoord, which is what people might be expecting given what you said before. But it is the game pitching up Jose Mourinho and Brendan Rodgers between Roma and Leicester.
Yeah. 8 years on from their famous other meeting. Let's hope I'm not going to slip up. So, it must admit, it was a coin toss which way around I played them. But I just feel that there could be more of everything in this one. With the 2 managers, there's a little bit of like to and fro on the sidelines. I think there's going to be a bit of heat in it. It's in Rome. I think it's got all the makings for being, I say, a bit of everything. Hence why it's again the perfect fit for the match performance. And Leicester should be going into this one, I feel, in front. They kind of dominated that first leg. It was a little bit of a Jose masterclass of bus parking, I think, that first one. So Leicester's like shot count was higher, possession was higher, the corners they smashed. So I can't see that being the same case in the second leg. I don't think the home crowd are going to allow that. I think not that Jose kind of gives too much of a hoot about that sort of thing, but I expect that he will, look to be a little bit more front foot at least and come and join the party and add to what we've got. Brendan Rodgers said that every game was equal ahead of the Spurs game, before then promptly dropping Barnes, Fofana, Tielemans and Vardy to the bench and leaving Maddison and Evans and Dewsbury Hall at home. But again, who can blame him? They've had loads of injuries this season. There's obviously players coming back from that. They're going to wrap it a little bit of cotton wool, and also the fact that the ones that have been playing are going to be feeling a little bit of fatigue. So they've rested ahead of a massive game, because Roma have got a stunning home record. They've only lost 3 times at home this season. Juventus, Inter and AC Milan are the only sides that have beaten them at home, and they've got an unbeaten record in Europe at home, stretching back 2 years now. So it's going to be a tall order for Leicester to go there and do that. But let's say they'll take heart from the fact that they did dominate that first leg. So I expect there to be a little bit of give and take in this one. So we should see some goals. There should have been a lot more goals in the first leg than there was. So I'm happy with that. The fact there was 2 even there still. Yeah. Corners, 12 corners in the first leg, 11 for Leicester, only 1 for Roma. Again, so I'm expecting that to be a little bit more even and a bit more coming to the party. I think Leicester can certainly attack Roma down wide. They've got quite a lack of pace out wide, Roma. So with the likes of Barnes come back into the side, we should see that being exploited. And obviously Leicester got a bit of a weakness from defending set pieces, so we'd expect Mr. Mourinho to be looking to probably make the most of that one. So there was 12 in the first leg. The average is 10.46 in Europe for Roma. That rises to 11 as an average at home. Leicester's is even higher, 11.31 overall, but when they're on the road it's 11.83 in Europe. So the averages speak for themselves. They covered that in the first leg when Roma weren't bothered. So if both teams are going for it this time, I'm expecting that to be a nice little addition. And then the cards. This is the one that made me mind up as far as this being the match performance one. Purely and simply because although the averages are around about 4 yellow cards per game for both. It's 3.75 for Roma and exactly 4 for Leicester in Europe this season. One game really caught my eye, and that's when Leicester played Rennes a couple of rounds ago. And there was 8 yellow cards. I thought it was a very similar kind of setup, a similar kind of game, and a similar kind of way that Leicester would need to go about the game. So the 8 yellow cards there was the one that swung it for me to decide we're going to play the match performance at 95 and buy.
Buying at 95, if Jose Mourinho is watching this, which I'm sure he is,
no, of course.
It'll be just like him to go after a 0-0 draw just to scupper your plans and get the minus 25. But let's hope that doesn't happen.
Happening.
No more bus parking, hopefully, for
you
Jose.
You promised me it weren't going to be 0-0 last time.
Yeah,
You're not so confident this time.
I know. Let's, before I let you go, which would be the one that you would, what would be the nap? What would be the one you're keenest on?
It's a riskiest one, but I love the Nkunku bet. That's my favourite.
At 27, his goal minute's the one that Jack would pick. Thank you very much to Jack for his Spreadex Six ahead of a cracking Thursday night's action in Europe. Thank you for watching. Do subscribe to the Who Scored YouTube channel, where you can see plenty more Spreadex Six and lots of other preview content up there as well. Hopefully a couple of winners in there. Do check out Spreadex's site as well, where you can find plenty more markets across all sports too, so do go and check that out. But as is always the case, remember that your losses with spread betting can exceed your initial deposit, and please, as always, ensure that you're gambling responsibly.